When we remember a time, we remember moments. A kaleidoscope of the sights, the sounds, the emotions that remind us of the way we were. Our world. It's about time. Here are Linda Ellerbee and Ray Gandolf.
For the next hour, think of your television set as a time machine.
We have a good rummage tonight. Some inspiring memories that we put in the scrapbook and don't mind being reminded of. Welcome
to our world. It's spring 1954, a time for positive thinking. According to the Reader's Digest in the spring of '54, 94% of all Americans believe in God, or say they do. A fair number also believe in themselves, or say they do. So with faith and Yankee know-how, walls ought to come tumbling down. Barriers are for breaking.
And in the spring of '54, barriers were broken in sports, in music, in politics, and in medicine, where a curse that had lain upon the land, threatening especially our young, was about to be lifted.
The baby boomers. If they had their own special name, they also had their own special kind of plague. A killer virus that would wither so many lives, so many dreams. A virus with no prevention and no cure. And like any plague, you never knew where it would strike next. It even had its own season, polio season. They closed our swimming pools, told us not to run, not to get tired. Summer was coming, polio season, another epidemic. They were right.
When I was first getting sick, I was out in the hayfield, and I was feeling very ill. Had headaches.
Well, I got polio at summer camp, and I was very sick. You run a high fever and things of that nature. And I remember all of a sudden my legs wouldn't work. The doctor came the next day and said, well, maybe this isn't just the flu.
And I did not know that I had polio until I was wheeled through the corridors of Municipal Hospital and saw the iron lungs lined up. And I was just absolutely petrified.
It was called infantile paralysis because it favored children. Some would recover, some would not. Parents were crazy with anguish. Actress Helen Hayes.
Well, of course, you ask a mother to tell you what her dear daughter, lost daughter, was like. Naturally, I'm going to say she was exceptionally beautiful and kind and good and talented and fun. I mean it. I think anybody would say that who knew Mary. We would, in a play called Good Housekeeping, and I was going to bring her into New York for her first New York engagement in the Cherry Orchard. It's Anna, the daughter. And we were very excited about it. And in the last week of the run of the summer's tour, she got polio and died within 5 or 6 days.
1 month later, Helen Hayes headed up a fundraising drive peculiar to the 40s and 50s, the Mother's March Against Polio.
Serve in the 1954 Mother's March on Polio. It need only take you 1 hour of one night. And then maybe in 1954, through your efforts, we will see our years of work and terrible anxiety crowned with shining success.
Meanwhile, at Municipal Hospital at the University of Pittsburgh, the barrier against that success was about to come down forever. It would be broken by a very special team.
We had as many as 50 people working at one time.
Jonas Salk, research scientist.
Without that group, without that team, nothing would have been possible. And so it's terribly important to realize and appreciate the spirit of devotion that was such that days and nights didn't matter, weekends didn't matter.
By early 1954, Salk and his team had their vaccine ready. It was time for what would be a different kind of shot heard round the world. With volunteers, they went into the Pittsburgh schools and vaccinated 7,500 children. Among those first children to test the vaccine were 3 classmates from the Colfax School. Marilyn Bandel.
I remember sitting in the hall in chairs lined up, and then standing up and going in a room, one row at a time, getting our shots and coming out. That was probably my most vivid memory.
Michael Rosenfield.
The thing I remember was I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to cry before the shot because of the anxiety or after the shot because of the pain that I was expected to experience.
Dr. Salk was on the cover of Time magazine as a polio fighter, and my picture was the one that was put in the paper and sent off.
And David Rosenblum.
I remember cutting that picture out and running up to school and to Dr. Pregler and showing her the picture and saying, look, that's me in the paper. My name was underneath there and everything.
Having been sensitive to children and to the need to make this as painless as possible, I had to do what I could to relieve the moment of pain by squeezing the arm or doing whatever was necessary.
Nurses, 220,000 ordinary folks, all volunteered their time and energy. And that's not counting some 50,000 teachers who saw that each and every child in their care got the shot. The general in charge of that volunteer army was Elaine Whitelaw of the March of Dimes.
Never any place anywhere had anything been conceived at that scale. And the reason was simply this extraordinary organization of volunteers from Maine to Maui, everywhere in this country, who had given their dimes, their dollars, their time, their effort, and their love to conquer this disease. There was a feeling of such excitement of making history, literally making history. And I don't suppose anybody felt that more than the kids themselves, those valiant first, second, and third grade polio pioneers.
Vaccines could be tested then without government regulation. Salk suffered no bureaucratic intrusions.
I didn't have to ask permission of the regulatory groups. They didn't exist at that time. The polio vaccine came about without any government intervention whatsoever. There was cooperation and there was participation. But it was the Mother's March, it was the March of Dimes, it was this volunteer effort done all together in that fashion.
I became aware as I worked with that army of people who were fighting to destroy the polio menace that most of them had not much acclaim. And oh, how they worked and how they prayed and how gallant they were. I was at a fundraising event and a doctor came up to me from the hospital where Mary had been in her illness, and he said, "I'm sorry, we did all we could, but it wasn't enough." And I remember I said, "Well, one day you're going to say I did all I could and it was enough." And it happened very soon after that. And thank goodness for it.
We actually saw a disease die before our eyes. That was something. Come back to the spring of 1954 when some other barriers fall. One will rock the music world, the other will rock the whole world forever.
In a moment, Our World continues. Breaking Barriers, 1954.
With Dexatrim, you're just not hungry, so the weight comes off.
Fact. No diet in the world can help you lose weight until you do one thing. Control your appetite.
It was really easy with Dexatrim. I didn't feel hungry, so I lost weight.
Fact. New Dexatrim caplets contain the non-prescription medicine doctors recommend most to help their patients lose weight.
I get results from Dexatrim without making sacrifices.
Fact. Nothing works harder than Dexatrim to control your appetite so you can lose weight.
Dexatrim really works.
Our dog sometimes forgets himself, and my husband smokes. I need a carpet deodorizer that destroys these odors without heavy perfume. So I use Arm & Hammer carpet deodorizer. It has a clean, fresh scent.
Other products cover up odors. Arm & Hammer penetrates to absorb and destroy odors without heavy perfume.
Smells clean and fresh. Why should I cover up odors when I can get rid of them?
Arm & Hammer carpet deodorizer, America's favorite.
Freshness without heavy perfume.
The dark can be frightening. It's different. It's mysterious. And a little hard to get around in. But there's nothing to fear with Michelob Dark. Oh, I know. Dark beer. It's bitter. It's for thick-necked guys named Gunter. No! Try Michelob Classic Dark, full-bodied taste that's Michelob smooth. So, be afraid of strawberries with gray hair, but don't be afraid of the dark.
Ford announces a new 6-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty on all new 1987 Ford cars. And you can now get 3.9% financing plus up to $600 cash back on Tempo, Escort, and Mustang. Combined with option package discounts, you can save up to $1,558 on Ford Tempo, $1,335 on Ford Mustang, and $1,294 on Ford Escort. Ford value, better than ever.
Sunday on Disney, Minerva's a misfit who lives at a casino.
Room service.
But this man bets he can make her a lady.
But
You Ruined My Life, Sunday.
Welcome back to the spring of 1954. On the last day of that spring, the American Cancer Society announced for the first time major statistical evidence linking smoking with lung cancer. The study reported that among men aged 50 to 70, the rate of lung cancer was 5 to 16 times greater among smokers than among non-smokers. If you found that news depressing, you could go to the bestseller list and read The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, or maybe Life is Worth Living by Bishop Fulton J. Sheen. The most popular songs that spring were all about love, secret love, young at heart, and when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. The songs were bland, and the singers were white.
They call that music MOR, middle of the road. Then there was this other music, R&B, rhythm and blues, black music, emotionally raw, sexually descriptive, with a beat. And still a third kind of music, C&W, country and western. Emotionally and rhythmically different, raw in a different way. In the spring of 1954, R&B would merge with C&W to break down one more kind of barrier. The solution would be R and R.
He put it on the air, and after it was over, he said, that's got a kind of a rockin' motion, hasn't it? Rolling. He says, rock and roll. I said, you said it, Alan.
Disc jockey Alan Freed named it rock and roll and played it over and over and over.
Rock and roll just happened, and I was there when it happened. The music, which is the honest, spontaneous expression of today's youth. Its restlessness, its craving, and its sentiments.
Rock and Roll was an immediate hit with the leather set, and when Hollywood put its brightest new star, Marlon Brando, on a motorcycle in The Wild One, gave him a leather jacket and a rock and roll beat, young America was hooked.
The idea is to have a ball. Now, if you're gonna stay cool, you got to whale. You got to put something down. You got to make some jive. Don't you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Crazy.
Rock and roll, where does the phrase come from? It comes from rocking in a bed and rolling in a bed.
Milt Gabler produced Rock Around the Clock.
Or you could mean dancing. And so as long as you can get away with it meaning dancing, you can rock and roll all night.
Rock and roll was a white child with black ancestors. People like Big Joe Turner had been singing rhythm and blues for years, making race records heavy with sexual innuendo, music that rarely reached white audiences. But in the spring of 1954, Shaboom broke through. Shaboom was written and recorded first by the Chords. Jimmy Keys was a member of the original group.
Rock and roll is something aside from rhythm and blues. Shaboom was a very big hit for us. Our first record, first recording, and I think it was just about one of the first songs that we had wrote.
Life could be a dream, Shaboom, if I could take you up in paradise up above. Shaboom, if you would tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart, hello, hello again. Shaboom, hold me, meet again, boom, boom, boom. Life could be a dream, life could be a dream, sweetheart. Shaboom.
The Chords rode Shaboom to the top of the rhythm and blues charts, but the song did not become a smash hit until it was homogenized or covered by a white group, the Crew Cuts, lead singer Johnny Perkins.
When we first heard it, we said, no way, it's just not ours, just not us, you know. But we took it and rearranged it a little bit. Kept the flavor of the original, but gave it our own little touches.
Life could be a dream if I could take you up in paradise up above.
What we did was successfully take a rhythm and blues song and move it into a white market. If you play Shaboom today, it sounds like a ballad compared to some of the stuff that's being done, but it was considered very radical in its day.
We also created Shaboom thinking of the slang word at the time, boom. Everyone was saying, boom, dig, man. I met this girl, man. She's really nice, man. Boom, I got a number. And I think it was because of the year 1954 that this H-bomb was real big headlines. So I believe that we did use some of the emphasis of that to say, shh, boom. Boom, you know, like this explosion, like dig, man, here it is, number one, you know.
In the spring, in the Pacific Ocean, the sun rose in the west. A 15-megaton sun, the biggest hydrogen bomb ever exploded.
You would have seen the sun glow like you have never seen the sun glow before in your life. Then you would have felt a shock wave, and the first shock wave would have probably scared the hell out of you. Second shock wave was enough to make you want to dig a hole in the ground.
Eugene Kerbo was an Air Force weatherman. He was stationed on an island 200 miles from the blast.
It's unbelievable what kind of force that these things can place. It's greater than anything in the world that you could ever experience.
The Marshall Islands, the United Nations had placed them under U.S. protection. In the post-war arms race developing between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, we protected the islands by using them to test hydrogen bombs. On the Bikini Atoll in the spring of '54, 6 hydrogen bombs were detonated.
The Bravo shot was the key experiment, and it was the largest one that we had designed to date, and it turned out to be the largest one we had ever fired.
Bernard O'Keefe pushed the button on the biggest weapon ever built.
It was supposed to be 7 megatons, 7 million tons of TNT as opposed to 20,000 tons, which had been the Hiroshima and Nagasaki weapon. As it turned out, and we didn't know, the designers were too good, and it went twice as big as it was supposed to go, went 15 megatons.
As you would expect, setting off the bomb set off the politicians.
The hydrogen bomb. It can destroy any city. That means Fort Worth and Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Amarillo, El Paso, yes, Johnson City. Any city of any size.
But we do not have to be hysterical. We can be vigilant, we can be Americans. America is the greatest force that God has ever allowed to exist on his footstool.
Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, on his primetime TV show, also brought God into the debate on the side of the bomb.
It's not atomic energy we have to fear, not hydrogen, a gift of God. There's nothing to fear about a hydrogen bomb or any other kind of atomic bomb. God lights the sun with atomic energy. We have to worry about atomic men. That's our worry. To our atomic men. Atomic men are those who identify themselves solely with this world, who think there's nothing else. Then they discover that the world's rewards are not equal to the world's pain.
If the size of the blast came as a surprise, so did the extent of the radioactive fallout.
It was like, we called it bikini ash or bikini snow. And the best way to describe it is just visualize yourself in a blizzard, and that's what it was like.
The wind shifted, and when it did, hundreds of Marshall Islanders were caught downwind. A tragedy that would haunt the U.S. government and its victims.
It was the first time that the American public began to realize that there was no place to hide when you could kill people 75 miles away and severely irradiate them 120 miles away. There was no place to hide.
Just 70 miles away, 23 Japanese fishermen had no place to hide. At first, they thought it was merely a spectacular sunrise. But two suns in one sky? No. 9 years after Hiroshima, we had once more shown the horror of atomic war to the Japanese. The boat returned to Japan. All on it were sick. One died soon after. The bomb gave birth to another monster. Japanese film director Inoshiro Honda made Godzilla as a political statement.
In Godzilla, I made an image of an animal that had strength and radioactive power, that no matter what anybody did, it would go on destroying everything and anything.
Nobody knows, Robert. When man entered the atomic age, he opened a door into a new world. What we'll eventually find in that new world, nobody can predict.
Come back to the spring of 1954, to an English medical student who breaks the barrier of the 4-minute mile, to the birth of a magazine, and the beginning of the end for Senator Joe McCarthy.
From the time I get up in the morning, it's a race with the clock. So I don't have time to slow down for a cold, much less a cold medicine that makes me drowsy. That's why I count on Sudafed for fast relief without feeling drowsy.
Sudafed starts to relieve a stuffy nose and clogged sinuses in as quick as 22 minutes without drowsiness. Just 22 minutes, and you can get on with your day. Sudafed, the fast-acting cold medicine
that won't slow you down.
My hair is surrounded in fabulous fragrance.
Presenting L'Envie Parfum Conditioners. Luxurious conditioners with fragrances similar to Giorgio, Opium, White Linen, and other world-famous perfumes.
My hair shines, it shimmers.
L'Envie Soothing Emollient shower your hair with softness.
Feels sensually soft to the touch.
L'Envie Parfum Conditioners and Shampoos.
Now my hair smells as beautiful as it looks.
L'Envie. Fabulous fragrance, fabulous hair.
The Venice Simplon Orient Express. Naturally, the most luxurious train in the world serves the richest coffee in the world.
c'est impossible. Pas de café de Colombie. Vite, vite, retournez à Paris.
100% Colombian coffee, hand-picked by Juan Valdez.
Right now, when you buy a special option package, you can get $1,793 in equipment on this Ford Ranger for only $482. That's a big savings of $1,300. Save on deluxe two-tone paint, chrome bumpers, rear step bumper, sliding rear window, low-mount swing-away mirrors, power steering, AM/FM stereo cassette, deluxe interior, and more. Now, get this Ford Ranger with 15 popular options and save $1,300.
Now, get 3.9 financing or $500 cash back from Ford.
Little things mean a lot.
Our world will be right back.
Don't have to buy me diamonds or pearls, champagne, sables, or such.
When you play with this kid, you're playing with fire. Because they're sidekicks. Then, Sledge rolls out the red carpet. Oops. For his long-lost brother.
You're lucky. You're an only child.
Sledgehammer, right after Sidekicks.